Well, hello and thanks for joining us once again. In this video we are going to take a look at a couple of twin-shock Honda dirt bikes from the Bryan Wood collection. Now we're going to start with this CR500 Honda twin-shocker, which was built by Bryan's friend Stuart Bland. Now Stuart has earned a good reputation for restoring and building these types of high quality machines, and this particular project is just one that he recently finished for Bryan. Now I'm sure you'll know as well as I do that the CR500 Honda chassis and motor in stock form is still a formidable machine straight from the crate, but Stuart had a cunning plan to combine the power and reliability of the Japanese engineered motor with the superior handling of a 1981 490 Maico chassis. So basically what Stuart did was he started out with a 1988 500 Honda frame and swing arm, and then chopped the entire rear end of the chassis clean off. He then meticulously measured all the remaining parameters of the frame. Now the same measurements were then taken from an original 81 Maico frame and swing arm, and then these were subsequently transferred onto a computer where Stuart could then see both completed frame layouts side by side. Now these measurements were then transferred to jigs, which were then laser cut in order that he could make up all the associated displayed computer parts into metal. Now when it came down to sorting out the Honda motor, this also had some minor improvements along the way during the build, although these were just to improve the performance and make the engine a bit more user friendly. So in the end, the finished product was going to end up as a 1988 Honda 500 front end, but with a 1981 Maico rear end with a completely new alloy swing arm, which of course would be identical to the original 81 specifications. Now these lovely looking Maxton piggyback suspension units were specifically built for this particular machine by the Maxton suspension guys at Warrington in Cheshire in the UK. These are also of course fully adjustable and fully tunable to your own individual requirements. Now the bike builder Stuart of course is no stranger to working with high quality machines, as his day job has him wielding the spanners for British Superbike teams, and Stuart has also done work at World Superbike and even MotoGP level, so naturally he's no stranger to wielding the spanners and is well versed in maintaining a high degree of quality when he is repairing or building any make or model of motorcycle. Now Stuart told me that he did a bit of racing on Maicos himself in the past, and also had built a couple of machines for friends and other bike racing customers, although he always thought that the engineering that went into these German Maico motors could be vastly improved somewhat. Now later in this video clip we will have a chance to talk to the bike builder of these two Honda motorcycles, Stuart Bland, as he is interviewed by John Fleming. Now of course all of the components that went into building these machines are of the very highest quality, and Stuart tells me there was absolutely no expense spared when putting all the new parts on these bikes. Now with regards to the specifications of the engine, the crankcases and bottom end of this machine is from a 2001 water-cooled model, but of course the water pump mechanism, as you can see, has been machined off, as naturally it is not required for this particular motor. Now the top end is a 1984 cylinder and head, which has undergone significant porting to improve the gas flow, and this was all done by Frank Rathel of FW Developments. Now the actual porting measurements for this engine were taken from a 1990 Eric Gubor's championship winning bike, which Stuart had just recently restored for a friend. Now the original ignition system was also replaced with a more upmarket Vortex digital unit. This was to help the sparks fly better when that big Honda beast was on full song. Now as far as the exhaust system goes for this particular project, Stuart could not make up his mind to either stay with the original Honda configuration or maybe try something different to improve the overall horsepower. So naturally the thing to do was to get a few sample pipes and then try the bike on a dyno to see what the actual power output levels were. Stuart had tried various configurations of exhausts and tried tweaking them a little here and there, but in the end he opted for a Yamaha YZ490 Pro Circuit pipe, which is the one that worked best under all the documented and measured parameters. Now the fuel tank on this machine is not plastic, it is an alloy fuel tank, which is a period copy from a 1980 CR250 Honda, which was hand built especially for Stuart by local metal magician Roger Heap. Now after the bike was completed, Stuart of course was more than pleased with the overall outcome of the finished machine, although I know that there will be many of my YouTubers out there who will maybe not approve of chopping up a perfectly decent original frame and then trying to improve on what of course was still a great original Honda product. Now this completed bike has already had its racing debut ridden by Cumbrian motocross legend Mark Fulton, who has enjoyed many wins on this machine during the 2017 racing season. Now Mark is more than pleased with the power delivery and sharp micro handling of the new German chassis. It's a superb piece of kit, said Mark. You just point it where you want to go and it takes you there very quickly. So that's the first of our Bryan Wood CR Hondas to be featured in this video. Let's now take a look at Bryan's other machine, his absolutely superb 480. Now as per the previous 500 bike, this frame has also been through some major modifications by Stuart. Although the original chassis is based on a 1987 CR250. Now on this particular 480 bike, the motor is a 1983 Honda motor, which of course has undergone the full strip down and rebuild refurbishment by Stuart. Now the exhaust front pipe and the exhaust carbon fibre guard that you see here is these were all handmade items by Stuart. Now the bike at the time of filming was fitted with a pair of quite decent quality YSS piggyback shocks, although these have now been substituted for a much higher quality pair of superb Maxton shocks. Now the tailpipe section of the exhaust is a very high quality FMF tailpipe unit. Now the airbox on this particular bike was also handmade to fit the redesigned 87 frame. Now the reed valve intake on the front of the carburetor is a Tassinari high quality V-Force unit. Now the fuel tank is another bespoke handmade item that was built specifically for this bike. Now the clutch and front brake levers are extremely high quality IntelliLever units, which of course are designed if you drop the bike on its side that the lever bends back so as not to damage or break. Now both the side panels on this bike are from a 1982 CR250 and the front and rear mudguards are taken from an 88 CR250. Now the superb looking swing arm of course is another one of Stuart's handmade designs. Stuart built the swing arm specifically for this bike and put in this lovely adjustable brake torque arm. Now during the build, these high quality magnesium hubs were of course reconditioned and rebuilt with brand new spokes. Now the 45mm front forks on this particular bike are taken from a 1985 Honda model. Now on this particular bike, all the fasteners, screws, bolts etc. are all manufactured in titanium, as well as a superbly engineered rear wheel spindle. Now the original ignition system on this bike received an upgrade as well, and the motor uses Silcoline lubricants in the gearbox and in the fuel. Now these beautiful alloy triple clamps were handmade and machined from a single piece of billet aluminium. Now there's a pair of Kevlar handlebar grips fitted to the front of this bike, right onto those lovely rental handlebars. Now Stuart also made an aluminium sump guard for this bike to protect the crankcases from stones and other obstacles that would otherwise damage the engine. So there we have it. That is Bryan Wood's Stuart Bland built Honda CR480. Now these are the two lucky pilots who will get to ride these bikes in 2018. On the left there, that's Gavin Robertson, ex-Evolution British champion, and a man on the right that doesn't need any introduction whatsoever, Cumbrian racer Mark Fulton. Now these are some of the guys that were at the photo shoot on the day. From left to right we have Archie Baird, George Crichton, Gavin Robertson, John Fleming, Mark Fulton, and of course the bike's owner, Bryan Wood. Okay, we've seen the bikes. Let's have a word with the bike builder, Stuart Bland. He's talking to John Fleming.
Okay, welcome back to Bryan Wood's stable with his bikes, and we have Stuart Bland, who's the guy who built these bikes, and welcome Stuart.
Thanks.
What we're looking for out of this, Stuart, is to tell us a little bit about the bikes. We've got two bikes in particular which are made into Twinshocks. We've got one here which is a full 500, and we've got another one which is a 480. So the 480 I believe was built 3 years ago.
Yeah, I just started building probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I just fancied building a twin shock bike for myself, and the first one I did was obviously a Mako, and I've never really been a Mako fan, although they do work very well as twin shock bikes. The Mako was great, and as usual somebody made me an offer for it I couldn't refuse, so it went, and then I thought I'd have a go at building a Honda. I built 3 480s I think, again that people kept buying off me, and so the last one I built worked really, really well, and then I thought I'll move on to a 500.
And obviously you're talking about the Mikos originally. You were a rider of motocross yourself, so you knew a bit about the game, and you were a Miko rider as well in the early days.
For a very, very short period of time. Yeah. But I mean, I've never really been a Mako fan. I mean, they obviously work very well as a twin shock bike, and it was just by chance really that I stumbled across the bike and decided to build it and have a go, and I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed building it and riding it, and then I think Mark had a go on it as well, and Gordon Crockard rode it at Farley, and you know, I thought I took that as far as I could take it really, and I fancied building a Honda, and you know, it was quite a hard challenge to make it better than a Mako really, because they are a really good package.
Because of the Mako is renowned for its handling, yeah.
Handled well, and the power delivery was great. The only thing they can really knock them on, really, the gearbox and the clutch isn't fantastic. It's not like a Japanese bike, but you know, with a little bit of careful building and some modern parts, it was very reliable and very good.
I do remember at Farley Castle a few years ago there, probably at the same time, Josh Coppins was riding a Mako 81 there, and Josh had just come off the Pirellis that he'd been racing in the Grand Prix, the motocross bike, and he said, for a 1981 bike, he couldn't believe how good the bike that was. And throughout the world, the 81 Mako is renowned for this.
Well, you can still get around the track faster than them. I think the only thing you've got to allow for really is you ain't got the brakes aren't anywhere near as good as a modern bike. I mean, the actual peak horsepower, you've probably got nearly as much as a modern 450. Okay. So you know, if you know how to ride them, you can get them around fairly sharp.
Yeah. So you built these bikes from scratch in B, and the 480 came up to a level where you went to the 500 there. So can you tell us the difference?
Yeah, I mean the 480 I just built out of various parts that I had over the years, and you know, myself and a friend of mine made the frame, and we did it. I wanted to make the engineering properly really. A lot of people just weld twin shocks onto a normal bike, but I didn't want to do it like that. I wanted to make it properly engineered. So we started out by measuring the Mako properly with a Faro arm. Getting a computer image of the Honda and the Mako side by side, and then we had some jigs laser cut so that we could transfer those dimensions into metal. So basically the back end is the same dimensions as an 81 Mako, which is the obvious way to go because that was the best twin shock bike. And then I just made them as nice as I could really, and modernised everything, but still kept the spirit of the bikes within the rules really. You know, we put modern ignition systems on, improved the cylinder porting and the carburetors and various other bits and pieces, and made them as good as I could really. And you know, we got the 480 working really well, and then I decided to do a 500 because just by chance really I came across an 84 air-cooled cylinder and realised it bolted straight on the modern bottom end. So I thought, right, we'll do something with that.
The light bulbs came up there. Yeah, but the bikes are very, very impressive. I mean, we can see that they've got billet clamp yokes and they've got alloy tanks made, and yeah, they're very, very impressive. And I know for a fact that I've seen both bikes running, you know, and I would say they're the best bikes out there, to be truthful with you.
I tried to make obviously my day job is in bike racing, and I've tried to take that experience into building a bike properly by not just guessing everything, by measuring and experimenting and using an engine dyno and doing everything properly as you would really. Whereas you know, a lot of bikes you see built are literally just guesswork and thrown together, and just try to do it within the spirit. Try to make the bikes look period, especially with the 500. I've concentrated more to make that look period, but under the skin be as modern as possible and get the thing as easy as I can to ride. Yeah. And you know, I think if people have watched Mark on it, said, you know, the bike works really well. The power delivery is really smooth, but it's really quick and handles well. So you know, I think there's a few little improvements we want to make, but I think we've pretty much got it as far as we can now. Really.
Is this? I know you do this in your spare time, Stuart. Is this something that you want to potentially in the future break into, building bikes for people?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I'm always, as I say, that various people ask me to do things, and my answer is, well, yeah, I'll do it, no problem, as long as you're not in a rush. And obviously, lots of people just want a cheap job, but I don't do cheap jobs. No. You know, they either do it properly or not at all. But yeah, I'm always interested in speaking to people about doing things, because only if I enjoy doing it. If I enjoy doing it, I'll have a go at it.
Yeah. Oh, well done. And the other thing which we wanted to speak to you about was we have been testing various shock absorbers on these bikes, and the obvious choice was we had Ohlins on them because the frame has been took dimensionally off an 81 Mako, which ran best with Ohlins. But we have your experience with the road racing side at a company called Maxon, I know very well from my days with road racing type, making frames and suspension, and they're trying to break into the vintage style shock absorber and stuff. Can you tell us a wee bit about that?
Well, I was a bit frustrated with the Öhlins non-adjustable shocks because, you know, every time you want to make a change you've got to revalve them, which we did several times. There's nothing wrong with the product, but I just wanted to take it a little bit further on really, and I know Richard from Maxton, and I spoke to him and he offered to build us some shocks, and the biggest thing for me was obviously the quality. We wanted a proper quality product, not a cheap product, and also we wanted them adjustable compression and rebound. But most of the shocks with adjusters on, you lose a lot of stroke. I wanted to keep the same stroke as the Öhlins, where the way the rebound adjuster is designed on these, you don't lose any stroke, you still retain the stroke, which obviously keeps the whole thing correct. We did a lot of dynoing as well, and realised that the damping on the Öhlins needed to be quite substantially stiffer after a bit of experimenting, and obviously we've done some development now, and we've found an instant improvement. I say I'm sure you probably could have got the Öhlins to the same place, but you would have done 4 or 5 revalves. And obviously you just want the adjustability really. I mean,
I suppose for the guys at trackside, then it is easier for them because they can have a click here, a click there, and I believe that the adjustment you have, the way Richard's made these shocks, the adjustment is quite severe.
Not so, but what I asked him not to do was make it so that, you know, you did 4 clicks and you could hardly feel it. I said, you know, you want to have the range wants to be sort of 10. So that you can feel 1 or 2 clicks. A lot of these Japanese shocks, you have 50 clicks on, and you can put 4 or 5 clicks in, and you can't tell the difference. Just wanted to, you know, we're not going Grand Prix racing or anything. It's just local twin shock racing, and you know, you don't have loads of time to set things up. So we just wanted a reasonable range of adjustment so that you could make a difference. And they seem to work really, really well. And obviously, it's a quality product made in England. And as I say, the main thing for me was keeping the stroke of the shock correct, because people put shocks onto bikes that should have 130 mil of stroke, and then they put a shock on that's the same length that's got 20 mil less stroke, and don't realise they're losing 2 inches of suspension travel. So
it's very, very important. But we're hoping probably in January time that we'll, through yourselves, we'll be able to take the lads down to Maxton, and we're going to have a wee tour around about factory, and let the guys feel a bit what it's all about.
I think you'd be interested there. It's got a nice setup there, and I think they're well set up to make one-offs as well. You know, they're not just you know, they'll go and personalise a shock to you, and if you want something a different length or a slightly different, they'll make anything. They'll tailor make them for you.
It's quite rare that now to get somebody to do that.
Most things now you just buy in boxes, and you've got one spec, and then you have to take it further from there. You know? So you know, it's a good. Obviously, you know, you do pay a little bit more for the quality and the uniqueness, but it's definitely worth it.
I think the emphasis of this then, Stuart, is what we're saying is we don't do cheap.
No.
We do proper. So anybody that's serious about racing and having a nice bike and making it work right, do it proper.
Exactly.
And I think that's the right way as far as I'm concerned. And we've got another bike which is the Evo. Can you tell us a bit about that bike?
I had that for about 6 or 7 years now, and I just initially bought it. It came from America, so it was a very, very low hour bike, and I just I built it up, and I think Gordon Crockard rode it once, and a couple of my mates rode it, and I had a ride on it, and then Bryan decided to buy it off me. So I think he's going to have that out next year at some meetings with Gavin. So that should be good to see it ridden. But it's hard to find a really low hour one now. And basically like a brand new bike.
And Bryan is a real enthusiast.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, I've known him for a long time, and Mark and them have known him. He's a real top bloke. And of course, normal in this game is a spade with people, so that's good enough for us.
Oh yeah. No, it's good that, you know, people like Bryan. You need people like Bryan in the sport, and the Evo and the twin shot job is booming. It's good to see. It's a bit of an enjoyment for people like myself who've you know, been involved for 30 odd years in motocross, and it's a bit of a new lease of interest, really.
So okay, thanks for all that, Stuart, and we hope to see you, if your time permitting, at some of the rounds to see how the bikes are
Yeah, I'd
going round and,
love to come up and probably have a ride. But I keep saying I'll ride every year and never get time, but I will have, probably will have a ride at some stage.
Good, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. Cheers.